And we're live. This is Gamereactor TV from Cologne, Germany, Gamescom, and what you're seeing behind us there is the bustling live scene of a game show. No, it's really the press room here in Cologne, and
so I guess this is the one chance for everybody at home to actually see the press area.
Yeah, it's very exciting, as you can see.
Boring,
but it's got internet, and we're here, so that's all the fun you need, right? Right?
Yes.
Yes. So it's been a busy day, and I'm just relieved and happy that my voice held up. I actually feel like my voice
sound better.
It sounds better now than this morning, right?
So this is what you needed.
I need to work harder. That's how the voice is catching up. Yeah, but I think perhaps we should start a little bit with talking a little bit about what your Gamescom experience has been like.
Yeah, it's been very different.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
So that was an echo. Now you got that as well.
All right.
Yeah, I went here with our Road to Gamescom Call of Duty trip through Amsterdam. It started in 4 different cities: London, Paris, Amsterdam, and Hamburg. For all the winners we had from Gamereactor, we had 2 people who each got to bring a friend.
Mm.
And I will say we'll go through this quickly because there are. If you want to see more, go on the site and see the videos we have. We have vlogs, and I did some interviews at an event the other day as well. So that was one of the things the winners got to do. They got to be at the event where the multiplayer part of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare was revealed, which was very cool. Got hands-on, got to talk to the devs. They were very kind to walk around and talk to people. Even the 2 founders were good to talk to everyone there.
Glenn and Michael.
Yes, who I just did an interview with, which was very cool.
Yeah, because we really like to use your expertise. Because really, I mean, Call of Duty is one of those games where everybody has a basic knowledge of it. Everybody knows what it's about. But for a really good interview, you really need to know that you need to know what to ask for, and that's where you come.
I hope so. It might have sounded, maybe it was a little too positive because I was very pleased. They did a lot of things that...
Don't be ashamed of your enthusiasm.
No, I'm not. I'm just warning people. But that interview will go up soon as well. So I got to talk a lot about the different things they announced. The 4 maps, which seemed very cool. They were a little bit smaller, which was one of the problems in Ghost. There was bigger maps. They brought back CTF and Hardpoint, which is going to do really good for pubs, but also for the pro circuit. They are bringing, it seemed like good balanced guns. They brought in a new, kind of guns, which was, there was some energy weapons. There was one really cool weapon where it was sort of a mix between an LMG and an assault rifle. And when you were shooting it, you wouldn't have to reload at some point. It would sort of charge up and could overheat. So as long as you kept it from overheating, you could just shoot forever. No ammunition, so you couldn't run out. So if you kept that balance, it was sort of a different way of using a weapon. Yeah, they confirmed they were going to focus on pro stuff again. Like League play was in Black Ops 2. And ranked playlist, and theater mode is going to be back, broadcast mode, that sort of stuff. What else?
One thing that I was wondering about is like the perk system. It seems like they're mixing that up a lot. So
what they did was which was really cool was they took pick 10 from Black Ops 2, and then they sort of iterated it and now called it Pick 13, because they took basically how it was and then added kill streaks to that. So it's the same thing where you can pick perks and your gun and choose sort of do I want 6 perks or 3 perks? Do I want like 1 gun or secondary as well? And now you could also use that for kill streaks, whether you want like no kill streaks or you want up to 4. So for instance, if you're a player who is not really good at Call of Duty, maybe you want to just have a perks. Yeah, and have more attachments on your gun, so that's better. So like, I'm not going to get these anyway, but maybe I can survive longer if I have a better weapon or have more grenades or something. You could also say that I want a lot of like low-level kill streaks or a lot of high-level. So it's really a lot of customization in that way. Yeah. And then also every kill streak is customizable as well. So you could take a sentry gun, which would normally be 600 points earned by kills or capturing flags and that sort of thing. And then you could say, well, I want to add something to this. I want to make it, instead of it being a machine gun, I want it to be a grenade launcher. Then it's 700 points. Maybe I want to be able to take it off the mount and walk around with it. That's another 100 points. Or do I want it to last longer? And you can choose which one you want to add. Same goes for UAV, for helicopters, all that. So there's so much like to do with that. I can
see certain players just going nuts and really focusing on one thing, and that was sort of, for everyone playing against that player, that's going to change the whole...
It's going to be so much to think of, and that was also how I felt playing the actual game was... To begin with, I sort of didn't use there's the new exoskeleton thing. I really didn't focus on that, a lot of that in the beginning, because there was so much to think of. And I didn't really try the kill streaks proper either, because there's so much in there, and there's so much information for this reveal, way more than we're used to, which I think, you know, it's always, we see this game, and we see a lot of games early, we see a slice, it's hard to tell how it's actually going to be in the end. This seemed very positive, and the fact that they showed so much is good.
Did you get to play around with all the pick 13s, or was it a selection?
No, there was a lot of that as well. For instance, last year there was 3 kill streaks, that was all you could use. Here there were like 10 to choose from, and I swapped around using 1 and tried 3, and the whole pick 13 system there was there. There was like 15 grenades to choose from. Like there was a lot of things in there. And then another thing they have, I don't know, you're playing FIFA sometimes. One thing they do really well is when you're loading a match, you can go in and sort of play while they're sort of doing that thing as well.
So you can test your stuff?
There's 2 things. You can go in and see who in the lobby is. You can see what weapons they're using, what perks, all this stuff. And you can also go into a shooting range. So if you have your setup, you can go in and see, I want to see how this gun is. I want to try the scope. I want to see if I want to use a red dot or an ACOG, and actually test it on a shooting range and see enemies pop up, try to use it. Is it too much recoil? Do I need something on it? And really, you know, test your loadouts before you go into the actual game, which I think will help a lot. I've recently been frustrated with that in a lot of games where like, then you need to go into a map and then you find out it's not the setup I want, and that can be really frustrating.
Especially when you have so many things for people to play around with, it really gets important to sort of showcase that.
And also, like, just, you know, you need time in between maps for people to change things, and if you feel like you're done, you can actually do something. You know, you're just not just waiting in a menu.
So the thing that you played, is that the same thing that's being playable here at Gamescom?
Yeah, on the floor. That should be the same. I don't know if they have as much like to choose from. We had 4 maps, 4 modes. One of them being the new sort of version of Capture the Flag mixed with American football sort of thing, which was really cool.
Touchdown.
Yeah. Well, it was like instead of a flag, you have a ball, and then it spawns in the middle, and then you have to throw it through the other team's like zone. And but the thing is, when you pick it up, you can't use your gun, so you're running around without it. But then you can actually throw it in the air and use your gun. You can throw it to an ally. You can also throw it to the enemy, which happened to me. So I was about to shoot this guy with the ball, and he threw it at me, and I was like, "What? I can't shoot!" And then he shot me and picked up the ball. And so that adds so much to the game.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, it's been around for so long that you can really sense that it's a little bit playful. Some of the modes are like, and it's been the same for the last few Call of Duty. Some of the modes have been sort of almost like distractions.
Yeah. And I think that's okay for public matches. You want to have things where you can just play around.
Yeah, and there's so many modes anyway. So as long as there are some that are really serious and that really caters to that crowd, why not play around a little bit?
And then they confirmed, of course we know this is the third studio doing Call of Duty, but now all of them have 3 years to create a Call of Duty instead of 2. So that way it's more money, but I think it'll be better for the series. So I hope in general the next Call of Duties will also be better because they'll have more time to develop them.
All right. I thought that I'm gonna use the time I got with you here because I know you're popping off in a little bit. So
More Call of Duty,
my day. Well, we're gonna talk about something else that you
Yeah.
love. My day started at PlayStation.
Oh yeah.
I had an interview with Sony Worldwide Studios, Michael Denny, and a couple of things that he said that sort of has a little bit of news value.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. First thing off, like he did reiterate. The focus on Worldwide Studios right now is all about PlayStation 4. So PS Vita, don't expect any big exclusives.
That was
anymore.
one of the things we talked about at the
Yes.
conference. There was basically no mention of Vita.
No mention of Vita. They'll still support it. There'll still be cross-platform games.
And there's a lot of games on it.
There's a lot of games out already, but it's not. Don't
Don't expect like a first-party Uncharted, Infamous, something like that.
Don't expect that. At least not. That's not, at least not the focus right now. I think it could be a little bit different in Japan.
Yeah.
Of course, in Japan, PS Vita is still...
And handhelds are more important.
It's more important. So, but that's what he said anyway. Another thing I asked about was a game that was missing, Shadow of the Beast.
Yes.
We did not see that, and he could not say anything about that.
Okay.
It went a little bit cold and dark in the room when I asked about it.
Yeah.
So, not quite sure what's going on there. It's a franchise that I remember the old games and I like that, even though the new one's going to be completely different. I'm still curious to see where they're going with that. But right now it feels like they're not talking about it, and I have no update on what might be going on.
Okay, but that says something as well.
It does. The way he put it, it says something. Also in the elevator, our friend Jim Ryan, I ran into him.
Here comes trouble.
Here comes trouble, indeed. He was very happy camper, and I feel like Sony, they had the feeling that they had a good show.
Yeah.
Also try to poke a little bit about Michel Ancel and Sony's involvement.
That looked really cool, that game.
Very good, very nice looking game, and also very interesting. From like I'm an industry nerd.
Yeah.
Like I really like to dig deep into like.
How did that go?
How's the relationship between Michel Ancel and Ubisoft, and where is Sony playing into this? And Michael Denny is a diplomat, and he played it perfectly. Like
we get mics. Yeah.
Yes. So I really didn't get anything out of that in that sense, but I hope we have. I'm fingers crossed we can talk to Michel Ancel tomorrow and see really where his focus is, because it is a little bit of a mixed message. You can't do a huge project like Beyond Good and Evil to be fully involved in that, invested in that, while at the same time doing something like Wild. That new company
seemed ambitious as well.
Very ambitious. Something has to give, and I mean obviously the interpretation I've got is that the role he still plays on Beyond Good and Evil is perhaps a little bit more advisor, perhaps a little bit less hands-on. Which is interesting, and I'm sure we'll never get the full story because we usually don't, not until years later. But it's certainly an interesting industry angle on that sort of what's going on there. Of course, a great coup for Sony to sign that as a first-party title. We also talked a little bit about Until Dawn and that game.
Is it not Move anymore, or is it Move and DualShock 4?
Actually, what they did was they looked at what they had done and the reaction to it, and they said, okay, we like one thing about it. It's the concept of 8 people trying to survive.
Move.
We didn't like anything else, so the tone is very different as well. If you remember, the first thing they showed was very camp, very sort of.
But I'm sure might be better, but it was actually one of the few Move things that I was looking forward to. I could see that be fun playing for a few hours.
Absolutely, but as far as I know, no Move focus at all.
A lot of people will probably be happy about that.
Yes, but I mean, certain games you can have both.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an either or, but it certainly doesn't look like. I mean, even though Move is certainly compatible with PlayStation 4, doesn't seem like a focus moving forward for Sony.
I will say,
support.
Go get Johann Sebastian Joust. That is the Move.
The reason to get it, yes.
And then you need to buy
but
like 8 of them.
Play with you can buy it and test it with DualShocks.
That's true. So you don't need to buy 8 Move controllers.
No. but it's a little bit more fun with the
Yeah,
controllers,
it is.
I have to say. So that was my morning, running around the hotels outside here. After that, I had a huge chunk of Ubisoft interviews.
Okay.
We actually got some hands-on time with Far Cry 4.
Okay.
I
That was one of my highlights of E3.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing you played?
No, totally
nice.
different.
All right.
So what we played was 2 demos.
Okay.
The first one, Himalayan sort of snowy region.
Okay. Was that what we saw at the Sony press conference?
Yes, I think it is that. There was sort of a mission where you have to take down a specific target, so it's like a stealth mission.
Okay.
And you went in there with bow, and you had your all the
Was
things.
it sort of a camp like you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a camp, and you could move different ways and traverse and try to play it stealthily, or
and then it went wrong as usual.
I mean, first time I went in there, wingsuits, I reacted too slowly, and I crashed into the
wingsuit. That's awesome.
Yes, you started out on the mountain, and then you used the wingsuit
that's
in
nice.
on to get in there.
That was the one thing about the third one was I wanted that wingsuit earlier, and that sounds like that's one of the things.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
like,
and
we
it's
heard
very
that.
different. It's much more sort of a flexible tool, I guess, in this one, because there's so much more verticality in the world.
Yeah.
The mountains in Far Cry 3, while impressive in that game, doesn't really.
No, I remember I had to like find a mountain to crawl up.
Yeah,
and then use
exactly.
it.
This world is differently laid out so that much more verticality, and they've actually designed it so there's a lot of these routes to take with the wingsuit and sort of that sort of thing. But yeah, I crashed into the mountainside first trial.
You had to test it.
Second trial, I got attacked by one of these jock things, big beasts, hairy beasts.
Really?
Because I landed
Like a.
just wildlife. I landed
But
next
it's like
to
a real animal, or is it?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is also one thing. I talked to the creative director, and you may know that there's a little bit of a controversy going about the Hindu.
Okay. Yeah.
And really, he laughed a little bit about it because Kyrat is not a real place.
No, it just looks like Tibet.
Yeah, and it is mixture of
Yeah.
Tibet and all. But he said there will be Nepalese, there will be Hindu, there will be Cantonese as well, and obviously this is a politically very sensitive area.
Yes.
So Ubisoft would not be able to set a game in Nepal and paint a picture of what it's actually like.
Oh yeah,
there.
then it's gonna be like, are they the evil?
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
No.
And really, Far Cry isn't about real world settings either.
No.
It's about sort of fictional.
They actually hit, like, I think with all of them, like very controversial things. Maybe actually especially the second one, which was like civil war in Africa. That was also like.
Absolutely important not to have any real nations involved there. But that was the one demo. There was a second demo as well, the Shangri-La demo. So you got to see that sort of shamanesque dream world scenario. Reminded the good Dory here. He also played in the game, by the way. About was it Shadow Warrior that you said? Yeah, the look of it. Very different gameplay. You got your special sort of, is it the Shangri-La bow? Which is
that looked cool. I saw at the conference as well.
Yeah. Different mechanic than the normal bow. Doesn't really feel the same way. You have the tiger. That's like your companion.
Oh, really?
And you can send the tiger. The tiger can both be tactical and a direct attack thing on enemies.
Yeah.
Certain enemies will sort of fight with the tiger, and then you get the chance to move around and do a takedown from behind.
Okay.
So it's a little bit tactical like that. It's a very different thing we have no idea how prevalent this is in the entire game. I'm the kind of person who from Far Cry 3 at least, I was like, I like the sandbox things. Don't give me too much story.
No.
Let me enjoy.
I think some
the
of it was
freedom.
really good, but it kind of fell.
You don't
apart.
want too much of that.
Also, do we know, we know there's co-op, and of course there's single player. Do we know if there's any sort of other multiplayer?
I haven't heard about that, no.
Because I liked what they did, but it sounded like it wasn't the biggest success, and what people really loved was the single player.
I think it might be a good choice to invest more into other parts of the game.
It seems like a lot of studios are figuring out that it's okay to do, Infamous, no multiplayer. Titanfall, only multiplayer. They're getting that focus on what the game is good at, and then people are up for paying $60 for a game like that.
And I really think the decision to go with co-op in the main game is a great decision. We talked a little bit about the keys to Kyra thing.
Yeah,
and
the 10.
The 10 keys that you're getting, 2-hour keys. Only problem I've got with that is that the player that you're going to play with has a hefty download first.
Does he have to download the full thing?
Yes. Not the full thing, maybe, but you have to download the whole world.
Because the co-op stuff is only in certain areas, so I think maybe you only download that part of the world or something. Okay, that's
you are free to co-op throughout.
Is it?
Yes.
I thought it was only like.
No, that's the way it's been described.
And then
so
there was
the
thing
full game.
you mentioned was the thing with that.
But the good news is, if you want to buy it, then you don't have. You can only unlock it.
That's smart, actually, because then it's like, I already downloaded.
It's all a marketing ploy.
Yeah. That of course now we're getting this share thing on PS4.
Yeah,
but this keys thing.
I
is
tried to
also
get
on
Michael
PS3.
Denny to talk about that, how it works, but he didn't want to. But he said it's existing technology. So,
but the thing with Far Cry is also on PS3. That's so because in a way the PS4 version of that 10 keys is like, well, I can do that with a lot of games, but you can also do it on
and it's a little bit different with the share play because it's not couch co-op in that sense. You're passing the controller, which is a different thing. So someone else is playing, but it's certainly like a feature that just had us gaping at the press conference, and it's something that's really cool, and I'm looking forward to it certainly. And you know that and the PlayStation TV, just we're getting closer to that sort of that dream of the console that's just sort of virtual and you're playing
I'm really
whatever.
hoping there's no real delay on that, because if
it's
I
one
can't
to
play
one,
Call of Duty if there's a delay on it, and then I need the console where I'm gonna play that.
Well, I mean, it's so cheap that I would get it even if it's just for certain games. And
also just for streaming things, like it could be like you could use it for Netflix and
absolutely, nice way of sort of tying your home together in that sense. And that is the feature that we're talking about. Of course, in Japan, it's a big deal because you can play your Vita games.
I was about
to
say, I was also going to do that for sure. Because I don't have time to. I'm not traveling enough that I'm playing all my Vita games on the.
No,
and I feel like I'm so traveling quite a bit.
PS Plus membership really takes a toll on you. You got a lot.
You don't
of games
even need
to
buy games on the Vita anymore.
Nope. I've got that Metrico game downloaded, so I'm gonna try that at the hotel later.
Yeah. I just downloaded God of War. Which is
lots to do.
Yeah.
So talking about Ubisoft, other big games they have there, of course, Assassin's Creed Rogue, Assassin's Creed Unity.
Yeah.
We did interviews on both those games.
Yeah, I shot one on Unity the other day. That should be going up shortly.
I had a chance to sit down with the historian that's working on that.
Nice.
And we did a special little thing about the French Revolution. Had a chat on
that is really cool about Unity.
Yes.
I'm glad to see.
I'm glad about the setting. It's really nice. But also, I mean, the problem with Rogue is that I'm so invested in that sort of.
Yeah, can you explain that? So Rogue continues the
Rogue
story.
is sort of like the bridge between Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag.
Okay.
And it's set on
Unity is a totally new character?
Yes. I mean, both are totally new. Like that.
Yeah, but that doesn't tie into the other stuff in the same way, right?
It's not tied in the same way. It's just the overall thing is tying together. And they were actually keen to point out that there are things connecting Rogue and Unity.
It's all connected.
It's all connected.
Even Watch Dogs, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. But certainly. And it's interesting. It's interesting how this is done by, 7-6 studios as usual with Assassin's Creed, but one of the studios, or the main studio, is actually the one in Sofia that did Liberation.
Oh, okay.
So
which actually didn't get enough love, I think.
No, and it came out as an HD, and I sort of hinted, well, maybe you can bring this out as an HD on the New Gen consoles later. I think that's probably the plan. If all goes well,
in the spring
next
maybe.
year, but either way, I guess they want to cater to the fans who haven't upgraded to New Gen yet, and makes sense.
Yeah.
They want an Assassin's Creed this fall anyway. So, but there is a little bit of a strange situation with competition between two Assassin's Creed at the same time.
Yeah.
Because I can also see people who have upgraded to New Gen wanting to play Rogue because
they're not, like, one thing is already dragging out the old console, but also. Like, there's already Assassin's Creed. If they would be hitting at different times, there would be a bigger chance of me playing both, at least.
I mean, for some, they may want to have that sort of Kenway storyline complete.
But as you say, if they put it out in the spring or something,
Yeah.
then I could also see if I have a PS4, I'm going to play Unity, and then in the spring where you're sort of done, it's like then being released for PS4, Xbox One. All right, then I'll jump in and get it. Where the people who haven't jumped into the new console, they'll play the old one first.
Interesting thing about Rogue, the naval part of it. I mean, we played a lot of naval in Black Flag, and of course there was some in Assassin's Creed 3. This time is set during a war, so that means that it's not really the pirate theme going.
Okay.
Instead, there's much more combat and two warring factions. And since you're a Templar here, you're going to be aligned with the British. So
where in all the other games you've been on the other side.
Yeah, and that is also very interesting.
That's cool. I like that.
And really, because I mean, they do paint a picture of neither side is entirely good or evil. It's not really that kind of thing. But at the same time, you've always been an assassin.
Yeah.
And you've sort of always sided with them. So it's kind of hard not to think of them as the good guys and the Templars as the bad guys. So that is interesting. Also, the Templar side, of course, more technologically advanced. So your ship is going to be different in that respect. And you're going to have
ship.
Yes. So, but don't expect like a tank ship or
like a carrier,
cruiser. Or submarine.
Now, could you imagine actually like 1700 like old ship, but then with like they make some fiction with like Da Vinci sort of flying things? Please do that. That would be amazing.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah. Next year.
Assassin's Creed Steampunk.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's not give them too many ideas, right? What else at Ubisoft? The crew.
All right. How are we doing on time? Okay.
All right, we can talk a lot, right?
Yeah, next thing.
And I did spend a lot of time at Ubisoft. Of course, they have a lot of interesting games there.
Yeah.
I'm also excited about the new Toy Soldiers. Used to be an Xbox franchise.
Okay.
Tower Defense. The studio.
Is it still a tower defense game, the new one?
It's still a tower defense game, but they're scaling it up. It's new gen. Very exciting things. I almost, when I saw the title, I thought like, are they doing some sort of compilation or something? Because it's Toy Soldiers War Chest.
Okay.
But the idea is more like, instead of sort of setting it to a time period or a certain kind of war toy, you're mixing and matching different armors, different settings. So, if you want to go back to your playroom, it's one of those things where you put He-Man against Star Wars or whatever toys you had. That sort of thing going. And
is there going to be Star Wars in it?
I don't think so. It's Ubisoft.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but
you just hit a keyword
but
there.
what they had now was like they had the Kaiser, which is sort of a World War I unit or sort of group.
That actually sounds, so you have different kinds of toys that are fighting against each other.
Yeah,
that's
and then
pretty
you
amazing.
had the second one. I think it's like something like Starlight or something. It's the girls' toys. So, but they're
awesome.
So you can see. And there will be several other armies.
So I could have the Transformers, and then some other dude is like, "I'm gonna beat you with my
you're
little
dropping
pony."
IPs and
but that's sort of, you could have like the cool soldiers,
Yeah.
and then someone was using like the like girl toys to beat you. Oh, it would be amazing.
So yeah, I'm excited about that because it's nice to see them sort of expanding that. What started out like on Xbox Live Arcade as a sort of a small idea. Now they sort of get to do, because this is the vision they always had for the game, but sort of now it's the time to sort of bring it up to that scale. Cool. So that's interesting. After that, what did I do after Ubisoft? I'm trying to rack my brain here. It's been one of those days. Yes.
What?
I did Blizzard a little bit later.
Oh, yeah.
So
You did, was it Diablo?
Diablo, of course, it's coming out next week. So I'm sorry I don't have a lot of news on that because basically everything's out there and you can just wait the reviews. But I had a couple of nice chats. We actually did 2 interviews on that one. So
cool.
We caught up with Josh Mosquera, who's a game director, and also with Matthew Berger, who's a level designer.
So
same guys I've been talking about with Reapers of Soul last year, I think. So
for the PC. Yeah.
So we talked about a lot of how some of the benefits of working on the game for so long as they've done with Diablo 3, moving from one project to the next. The main game, the console one, the Reaper of Souls, and now Ultimate Evil.
Yeah.
So they've been able to sort of iterate and just holding the
that's
game down. We also talked a lot about the fact that you have the same couch co-op thing going, and the things that sort of they had to sort of tweak for that, and how they, for instance, now just as an online, the loot is being separated for the players who are playing on the same couch, meaning that the barbarian isn't getting all the loot because he's moving ahead first.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So little tweaks like that
That's
that
really smart.
I guess they've sort of figured out as they went with the game. Also had an interview on Warlords of Draenor. Tomorrow is the big sort of cinematic reveal of that. And you'll get the release date, I think. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Yeah, there's no NDA, so I'm allowed to say that. The release date will be out there. It's we didn't get the release date though, so I don't have any.
But we're getting it tomorrow.
Yes, and it's soon. So something to get excited about. We also talked about sort of there's so much going on in the world in Warcraft right now. You got Hearthstone, which is a huge success, and you got the movie coming up. We talked a little bit about how World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, sort of the things that they do together, how they interact with each other, how, perhaps it started out with Hearthstone taking a lot from World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Now it's also migrating things in from Hearthstone into and there was for instance there was a quest that he said is like a quest where you send your characters to play in a Hearthstone tournament inside of Warlords of Draenor. That sort of thing that they got going, and it's all very meta, of course, but since
fans will appreciate that
absolutely, and it's also a sort of a testament to the fact that the Hearthstone team grew out of the World of Warcraft team. It's just 15 people or so that skidded off, did their own thing, and it's all one.
But I will say, I didn't play World of Warcraft. I haven't played like all that stuff, but I play Hearthstone, and I'm enjoying it. And I'm sure people who play World of Warcraft get something more out of it. But you can play the individual games still. It's not like it's turning into this thing where you need to play all of it for it to work.
I mean, there are little bonuses and things.
I could tell from Lee that when one of the characters you could choose, like he was really excited. I was like, okay, for me, it's just a warrior.
Yeah. I mean. That's the thing, and really, Warlords of Draenor is a sort of also one of those forces where they're going back to really the roots, the first Warcraft, and sort of exploring the lore that wasn't told in that game. Because of course, when you do the first game, all the different orc factions, all the different characters, they're not fully fleshed out what they did before, where they come from, and that's. In Warcraft, everything is so fleshed out. The universe is so mapped out that it was really interesting to hear them talk about this period where they actually have to go back and sort of. So what was the background of this guy, and what?
And they probably enjoy being able to do that.
Yes, absolutely, and in that sense, it's a very interesting expansion. And of course, we talked about future ahead and things like that, and. They're already working on the next expansion, as you'd expect. And same as every interview I do on a World of Warcraft expansion, the main focus is to make sure that the time frame between the two is shorter. They've yet to succeed in that ambition, but they certainly don't see like an end to it. It's been 10 years.
And they still have a lot of
6.8 million paying players. A lot less than at the peak, but still...
Someone released stats on that recently. It's still like a third of all like MMO players in the world. And like number 2, I think on the list, had like 10%.
Yeah.
So it's still really huge. And one of the few that is where you pay for a subscription and not free to play.
And I think it's one of those MMOs that people are really not happy to stop paying. Because you've invested so much time in it. You just keep it around. And I think Warlords of Draenor will probably inject a lot of new players into it just because of what it is about. A lot of old-time Blizzard fans will want to play this because of the historical setting and sort of what it harkens to. And always with an expansion, you get an influx of new players or players returning, perhaps more aptly. But yeah, so I'm still trying to remember what we did around noon, Tori. Oh, we did Devolver. Yes. That's what we did. Oh, I got a story to tell you about Titan Soul and Mr.
Oh, one of my favorite games of E3.
Well, we have a challenge for you. If you find time to go down there,
Yeah.
there's a new boss.
But I only had time to play one at E3.
Yeah, but this one, Dory played him 19 times. 19. The record for beating him, the only person who was beating
Dory
him.
didn't beat him.
No.
No.
The only person, the only person being it, because they brought it to E3 for developers to try.
Okay.
This is one of the most difficult bosses in the whole
Oh, now you're like poking at my.
Yeah. They brought it to E3 and only one guy finished it, and it took 18 tries. So Dory was playing.
So Dory beat it in one way. He had more tries at least.
More tries. But we said like, if you beat it in 17, then at least you're the best. You know.
Yeah,
so that was sort of the motivation to keep going on. But it was a Yeti, and it was.
It was a what? A Yeti?
Yeti.
Okay.
So sort of ice.
Any tips?
Shoot him in the ass, but I think you'll figure that out
quickly. Okay.
Quickly. So no, I mean it's just one of those things where you got a fraction of a second to hit him in the ass when he poses up, and in order to align that shot, you need to be in harm's way of his attacks right prior to that. So you can't play it defensively at all, and you're gonna die a lot trying to get that perfect position to.
This sounds like a priority tomorrow.
Yes. And we're not going to give him the tip that you got after 15 tries by the developer. He's going to have to, because maybe you would have finished it if you'd known that. At least a better chance of doing that. So yeah, Titan Souls, nice one. We had
like go see the interview we did at E3 as well.
Same guy, so we got a little bit more, expanded a little bit on that, and we actually filmed him playing the Jetty boss as well.
Okay.
So in the interview,
did he beat it? No,
no,
the dev didn't beat it.
no.
Oh Jesus! All right,
it's that kind of game.
I'm in for a challenge.
No. I think Dory did a better job in some of his tries than the developer. So it's a difficult one. But it's one of those things where you can certainly see where that sort of motivation to play that kind of game comes from, and just an interesting game. We talked about Broforce, Talos Principle. Had a nice sit-down chat with the developers of Gods. We'll be watching a game that I've been ripping my hair out trying to play. Very difficult one. They just released the patch, the Mercy patch, which will make it a lot easier. And we talked about that and sort of where that project is going ahead in the future. So, yeah, as always, Devolver's very interesting booth. Sadly, Denaton is not here at Gamescom. Okay. I think... the brother of Dennis, I think, is here demoing it, but he's not really part of the development team, so they're not doing any interviews because, and I quote the PR, they're working on the game to get it finished. So Hotline Miami 2, certainly...
Yeah, for people wondering.
Yes, it's they're working hard on getting it finished, and we're very excited about that. I think Hotline Miami, the original one, is coming out on PS4 this week or the next one or something.
Oh, then I might have to jump back in.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's cross-buy as well. I'm not 100% sure.
That was actually why I brought up God of War before, because I bought that as a download, and then I just saw, all right, then it's free on Vita if you already. That is the best thing ever. Yeah,
and it really encourages more purchases. I think you'd think that they're losing money by giving it away, but I think
actually I end up buying a lot of games. Oh, it's cross-buy, and then I don't play it anyway.
That's the way it is. But yeah, so Devolver with that, and then we did Blizzard, and then I've spent the last few hours at Paradox. Very funny thing actually, because they're located around the esports area, but not inside the hall. They got like these containers stacked on the outside. Very strange setting, and Lasse has returned now. I left him there filming the last the last presentation. We can actually only talk about 4 of the games. They showed 5 games, and they didn't actually show the game that they announced at
they were big at Sony.
Hollow Point, they didn't show that. We did get to see Rune Master, which is one of the games that's coming to PS4. I gotta say, I was very impressed by... It's not a strategy RPG like strategy RPGs that we talk about, but the combat is... extremely strategic, and you got the grid going. You build up an army instead of companions in this RPG. You got armies, so You can have, I think it was like at least 12 or 15 slots where you can set different army types, and you move across this grid, and it's really deep tactical combat. Because the big selling point of that game is that it's completely procedural. All the quests, everything is procedurally generated, and so you'll get a different experience every time you're playing it, which is, you know...
yeah, so for people wondering what that means, it means that the maps are not designed to begin with.
And the
every
quests
time
aren't
it generates a new map.
And the quests aren't designed, they're designed in a way that they can occur in different ways. And you don't necessarily have to do, you know, certain quests. There is a main quest line, of course, and it involves the gods. And it's very much, the thing is that it's so faithful to Norse mythology that it almost feels like you're really reading the...
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Because Norse mythology, and of course we're from the Nordics, so it's kind of
so
close.
That's why
to
we're like, yeah,
it kind of close to our heart. But a lot of the time, it's like it's not treated with the same care as a lot of the other mythologies. And
I guess we're fewer people, so maybe that's
and it's like maybe it's even seen as primitive in some ways, because it's very much like a warrior tradition sort of thing. But there is, I mean, if you read the sagas and that sort of stuff, that's really deep stuff, and it's really interesting, and it's not, you know, you got this image of a Viking and sort of a heathen, but it's a lot of depth to it and a lot of nuance to it. So certainly a game to look out for, and it looked really nice. We also got to look at Pillars of Eternity. So we got we got presentations on both Rune Master and Pillars of Eternity coming up, so you'll be able to see.
So we got to film them.
Yes. Yeah. Magicka 2, I played some of that. Hilarious. I died a lot, and so did Lasse. But we actually played with a guy who was pretty good at the game. So we got to the end boss. Yeah. Well, I mean, it was one of those games.
Did you play 4 together, or
only 3 actually? So
but you can do 4, right?
Yeah. And we played with the PS4 controller, the DualShock 4. It was on PC, but obviously that is a big thing. And
it is.
One of the things about it is that when you think Magicka, you think PC and you think keyboard and mouse, and actually the game was originally designed for a controller. You know, it was an XNA game originally, and Xbox 360 was sort of the target platform for a very long time, or like the idea of it, and the idea that you played it like you would play.
I think it's sort of similar to Diablo, where you could sort of tell in the way the game looked that they had thought of a controller. Yeah.
And also, it's like since it controls a little bit like a fighting game, where you put in the combinations, and it's sort of it works well with that. Even though I can imagine that people who are used to keyboard and mouse will feel like they're really being handicapped playing it with a.
But that's the way it is with any game. Yeah. If you're used to using one sort of controller or mouse or something, then you'll like that more.
Well, I mean, it's rather simple. It's like. You got different ways of throwing out your spell, throwing to yourself or throw it in a beam. That's different shoulder buttons, of course, and you got one shoulder button that changes the face button. So you got 8 elements.
Okay. That's
so
smart.
you got the elements on the face buttons, and then you put up combinations of 5, and then that's how you do it. And of course, you know, drop me in there and I just panic and I try to get something going. But
press all the buttons.
Yes, and we got some hilarious friendly fire kills going as well. So that's nice. That's nice to see. You know, it's always one of those things when you really loaded up something extremely powerful, one-hit thing, and then your friend runs right in front of you.
In the way.
I was in the way actually, but it wasn't Lasse. But it's like not only is it taking away all your HP, but it's like triple killing you or quadruple killing you, and it's like so it looked fine, and they were keen to point out that the netcode is a priority, and they started very early on that. And it's not done by Arrowhead. Instead, it's Pieces Interactive that did a lot of the later DLC. So they're very much into the series, but it's for the main game. It's sort of a new developer in that sense. It's not the original ones, but. Still looked real nice, and you know, it's certainly sort of a special brand of that sort of top-down, you know, action RPG. It's got its own flavor to it, so it's something a little bit different.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Is it time for you to leave, or
I don't know. Does Dory want to? Yeah, Dory. Is it time for Nick to leave? Dory's like, yeah, it is. All right. I also feel like I've been away from Call of Duty for far too long, so maybe I should go
play some more.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. All right.
All right, we're gonna do the switch here. We're going to do a full switch. So Lasse will switch behind us here. You're going to see Lasse walk into the screen. Yes.
I'll take a look at the chat here.
All right. So. We haven't really focused on that at all. Do we have any chatters in there?
Yeah, we have a couple of people. And I mean, you throw some questions about Gamescom. Maybe you can list off a couple of the interviews that we have tomorrow. If people have questions that they want to pose for those developers, we can look at that.
Yes, if I can get my iPad out, because my brain is completely fried. As you know, it took me, 30 minutes to get to Devolver? Yes, that's the point.
We'll give you a minute to think about it. But
I'm gonna pull out my bag here. It's been a little bit quiet about it. But yeah, how's your day been, Dory?
Well, it's been pretty frantic. I spent it with you.
Part of it? Yeah.
Most of it.
Yeah.
I mean, running around, a lot of waiting at Ubisoft. I mean, it was kind of funny because the schedule worked perfectly and then it stopped.
Yeah.
We had to wait.
It was a stop and start day. We got some stuff done really nice, and then 20 minutes of idle, waiting for someone to do something.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna product place my iPad here. I got the small one.
You mean the nondescript, non-brand tablet?
Yes, that's what I'm using because I'm that kind of guy. So yeah, tomorrow we got plenty of interviews. Actually, I'm starting out my day meeting with Peter Molyneux tomorrow.
Oh,
so if
awesome.
You got any Molyneux questions, and please keep them civil. We'll be happy to relay them to him. Of course,
You actually you had an interesting idea about what if you would just do that interview and not discuss any particular game that he's working on or has worked on, but like brainstorm into the future.
Yes, give us concepts of crazy games that Peter Molyneux doesn't have time to do, but that he wants to see get made. Sometimes that is actually what happens. He has brainstormed something crazy. Make this, go guys, make this, and it turns out to be something completely different in the end. But that's fine. Always a good interview, and always a nice guy to talk to, and he sometimes get into a bit of hot water for over promising. But sometimes I feel like we have to celebrate the fact that some people want to dream big.
Yeah, but it's also, I mean, I've thought about this a lot because we get a lot of YouTube comments still on some of his presentations that we have from E3's years past. But for me, it's kind of like, okay, he throws these stuff out there. Like, it's also, if it gets picked up by the public and like, oh, they really want this, then okay. He can convince the money man to open up the purse a little bit more and let's get the features in there because the people want them. So, I mean,
he's working several levels all the time. You feel that when you talk to him, certainly. Other thing that I'm going to talk to another legend of British game development, David Brabham tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Elite Dangerous. Certainly a game that at E3 had me excited. I'm not the biggest sort of space sim geek out there, certainly not, but playing that with Oculus Rift and sort of the full on.
Do you know if they have a similar setup here for the attendees of Gamescom?
I have no idea. I think at E3 they actually used like the first dev kit with Oculus Rift. Yeah. I'm not sure they would bring, if it's still that here. But they could, we'll see.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, of course, the first dev kit was good for the time, but after having tried the dev kit 2, like throw out the first one.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where maybe Oculus doesn't want them to demo the game anymore. With
especially to the public. Yeah. You want to get public opinion on, spot on. You want to get the experience correct.
Yes. So that's one thing. I'm not actually sure if Elite Dangerous is available for the public to try here. I'm not sure about that.
It wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't.
No. Of course, Oculus Rift have a big booth here, so you can certainly try a lot of Oculus stuff. There's Oculus stuff elsewhere in the halls as well. What else do we have? We're going to talk Heroes of the Storm, so more Blizzard.
Yep.
Oh, did the lights go out?
Yep.
Yeah, that's nice.
we're getting close to when they close the press center. So.
Yeah, well, we're going to run until they close it, so don't worry about it. If we go black, that's it. It's you don't have to reload the browser window or anything. That means there is no more power, there's no more internet, and we're gonna get out of here and get something to eat.
Yeah, it'll just turn into a podcast if you just hear voices.
Well, I'm not sure the voices are gonna carry through if the power is
No,
cut.
the power is completely out. Well, yeah.
We also got Sega and Deep Silver tomorrow, so that's going to be focused on Alien Isolation and Dead Island 2.
Nice.
Dead Island 2 is actually one of the most prominent games here at the show floor. They got a really huge booth, and it's hands-on with it. I'm very excited about that because I have great respect for Jaeger, the new developers of that franchise. So if you got any questions on Alien or Dead Island 2, feel free to add that to the commentary section. As always, there's a lot. We're going to do sports. I'm going to do sports tomorrow, so EA Sports, FIFA, and NHL. Certainly games that I'm very excited about myself and that I play a lot, and I've historically played a lot. I think as a young kid on Mega Drive, that was probably the 2 games that I played the most. And you know, even though I don't play it as obsessively now, it's still an important thing. Actually, we did an interview on Pro Evolution Soccer today.
Oh, great.
Talking about that, and not John Murphy that I've interviewed so many times before in Pro Evolution. It's a new guy who's new to the team, so he added a little bit of a new angle on that whole thing, and really being humble about the fact that they have a lot to catch up on. And of course, they're doing their own sort of take on the whole Ultimate Team thing, which is a little bit different. Of course, there's still microtransactions, there's all that thing. There's team chemistry, but they're not really doing it as trading cards. That's that sort of collecting thing.
Okay.
Instead, you hire agents who get you players. So better agent gets you better players, and that's sort of how the economy is run. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do that. Of course, the Pro Evolution series always done things a little bit differently. You know, the Master League is something that's not at all like the career mode in FIFA, and it's also always kept its own sort of sense of that, and we'll see if they can, because there was a lot of criticism about the last game. The first game they went Fox Engine with, so we'll see if they can sort of second time around get it nailed down better. Of course, it's coming to new gen as well, PS4, Xbox One, so that's going to be an important thing. And perhaps the biggest change and the most earth-shattering change is that it's coming out in November.
Oh,
so
okay.
they've actually pushed the development out a little bit to give them a little bit more time. The demo is still coming out around the same time as
the release is normally.
Yeah. So in September, and that means that, and of course they want a lot of feedback on that one. So because there will still be a little bit of time.
Yeah, they'll still have a little crunch time left.
So and also like it's a good way you can test it at the time that FIFA comes out, see if, because maybe
if you want to hold out.
I mean, it's a smart thing to do and a humble thing to do, I think. So we'll see how that plays out. But you know, it's like he said, the marketing people weren't all dancing with joy. So certainly a risky move to put your football title in November, long after the season starts, and people are so used to picking up a football title in that time frame, September, early October, that it's a little bit of a risky move. But yeah, tomorrow we got FIFA. I'm sure it's going to be David Rudder. We usually interview him. So if you want to know anything about that, tomorrow we're also going to talk about the new Bioware game. I have to say, I did not see the presentation today, so I still to catch up on that. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that. But you know, so you probably know a lot more about the new Bioware game than I do. I'm going to spend an hour this evening to sort of catch up on everything about that and make sure we get a good interview tomorrow, because I think that's my most important interview all day tomorrow. And yeah,
has it gotten like a proper title yet, or?
You see how little I know. Now you put me on the test here. I don't even know that.
No, okay.
No. So yeah, the press conference was this morning. They announced everything about that, but I haven't been able to go online and check anything. I've been doing back-to-back interviews all day. So you probably someone in the chat is already. Yeah,
there's some questions here.
Or someone naming the Bioware title. Perhaps help me out here, guys.
There's a little bit of delay. It'll pop in a bit, but we're supposed to ask about. First of all, the crew. We did an interview on the crew today.
Yes.
They're asking if the customization options in the crew are going to be the same, i.e. as detailed for the Xbox One. What are the differences besides graphics, stuff like that? We didn't really touch upon that in the interview.
We didn't really go into that sort of...
but we talked about their impressions from the beta, what they learned from it, how they've actually adjusted, the game itself after player feedback from after they've put it out there. And he flashes out a beta code as well.
Yes, so if you want to play the crew, we're going to put that interview up pretty soon. Because the
beta starts in a week again?
Yeah, the new beta is starting in a week. So, and he flashed a card there. So if you're really on the button when that video hits, maybe you can be the first one to see it and get that.
Get into the beta.
So, and we promise we won't use that code while editing the video.
Question here, will DR2 be more free roam or bigger than before? Any co-op?
Dead Island 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, of course, it's going to be co-op.
Yeah, it's co-op is like integral to it, and co-op is also in Dying Light, which is perhaps the spiritual successor because it's the same developer. So I think co-op is totally vital to the experience. I would say that it's going to be more. I want to say, like, I'm not 100% sure now, but it's going to be less like Riptide, more like the first one, in that it's more open. Riptide was more linear and sort of set in places. And that's a good thing, I think. I think that's what I want. I was a little bit disappointed by Riptide in that respect.
I haven't seen what they've shown of Dead Island 2 here at Gamescom yet. But after I played through Dead Island and Riptide, and I mean, I wasn't super impressed. But after E3 and finding out that it's Jagex that's developing it, my hopes are way up.
No, I hate to correct you, but it's not Jagex, it's Jager.
Oh, sorry, Jager.
That's a big difference.
Yes, that's not the Transformer studio. No.
So,
Jager. The developers of
Spec Ops the Line.
Spec Ops the Line.
And you know, same thing with me. I played Dead Island and Riptide a little bit later. Yeah. When they came, I think Dead Island was something that felt really fresh and new, and you were perhaps a little bit forgiving about certain things. Yeah. I certainly think after having tried Dying Light that is just head and shoulders above what was offered in those two first games, and I expect nothing less of Dead Island 2. I haven't played it yet, but we'll play it tomorrow and also do the interview tomorrow. But we'll certainly talk about the world and what it offers and sort of how they treat, because I guess
I mean the interview that we did at E3 was mostly about you know, the handing over of the franchise, how they're tackling it, and why
because they have a different heritage than
and why they wanted to take on this franchise and what they think they would bring to it. But now we can actually kind of now we can kind of more focus on what they're going to do with it.
Yeah. And you know, playing it before is always a good thing in terms of how the interview will turn out.
Yeah. We have another question here about PT/Silent Hill.
Yes.
Well, asking if we have played it. Well, we're at Gamescom, so no, we haven't.
No.
And actually,
it was kind of funny because
you're laughing over there. No, okay.
All right.
Killen's over there not working.
I don't think PT is a laughing matter, no. But I mean, it's such a strange way to announce the game, really. Yeah. Silent Hills, I think is the official title, or
yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. But don't quote us on that, but someone has played through the interactive demo and gotten that sort of Easter egg thing. Yeah. Very interesting project. It's not exclusive to PlayStation 4. Okay. As far as I know, it's not a PlayStation, it's not a Sony project. Instead, it's obviously the holders of that license and the owners of Hideo Kojima. Or
the handlers.
Yes, well, I think he handles himself, actually. But or maybe he handles Konami. I'm not sure how that works out. But either way, obviously a very high-profile thing and sort of a maybe what that franchise needed. Yeah. Sort of, because they've tried a lot of things with that in recent years, and obviously it's the kind of thing where they need to take ownership of it and sort of, you know, bring it back to where it can be. Always a little bit hesitant when it comes to sort of big movie directors moving into the game space, but Guillermo del Toro, to his credit, he had his own project going with THQ that got canceled, and he's at least with that, it felt like he was doing it from the right perspective. He's coming up with an idea and he wanted to realize it. It's not one of those things where he has to attach his name onto it.
Yeah, and
which film directors sometimes do.
Yeah, and it also felt like, you know, he came into it making a game, not, you know.
So hopefully with that same sort of approach to it, certainly I can see Guillermo del Toro and Silent Hill in like a visual design. It's a marriage made in heaven. I certainly would love to see that. So very excited about what the prospects of that. Certainly. But I asked Michael Denny about it, but like he's like, that's not our project, but we're happy, more than happy to sort of demo it. And of course, if you want to, you know, you should experience the interactive demo if you will. Because it's a cool way to announce a game. Very confusing for us who are here in Cologne, but very sort of nice for the people who are just at home playing games.
Yeah, exactly.
Things like that. So certainly not a bad thing. Anything else? Did we have the Bioware name? The title?
Shadow Realms.
It was that. So they actually, because I've been talking about this a little bit. They sent out a teaser trailer to about you've been chosen to people with the newsletter, and the JPEG was named Shadow Realms teaser. So, it was that, and that's a typical Bioware title, I think, certainly. And it is a typical Bioware game from what I've sort of gathered from the whispers of people who saw the presentation. I'm really being terrible here, but I'm gonna see it tonight and catch up on all the news about it. But there's no way around the fact that I'm always excited when Bioware has something new to say. I'm a little bit concerned that Casey Hudson is leaving Bioware because he's sort of, now with the doctors gone, he's sort of been that sort of
the one
firm, guiding hand of from Knights of the Old Republic through the whole Mass Effect series. But if he's to be believed, he's set this foundation for this game. He was there throughout the pre-production, and really, after pre-production, there's not so much that's been changed about the tone and the sort of the foundation of the game is there. It's more about fleshing it out and sort of making it into it can be a bad game with a good foundation, but at least the foundation is there for a good game if they pull off the rest. So there's that. But yeah. I'm very excited to learn more about it.
One more question coming in, classic question. Can you say who you guys think won Gamescom in terms of the presentations?
Yeah.
Or the press conferences?
Yeah, so Gamescom isn't really, it's not the same kind of battle as E3 where it's where everyone's bringing their big guns. I sort of think it's a little bit like the same way every year. Sony bring more stuff to Gamescom than Microsoft. Certainly than Nintendo, they're not really doing a press conference thing. So in terms of like what was announced, there's no way around, Sony being the winners in that sense. I think they showed, and it was kind of funny, Michael Denny talked about it in our interview, not mentioning any names, but he's like, when I asked him about the trailers, they showed the trailers of some of the biggest holiday games. Just short trailers with some horrible music in between to start off the show. And I'm like, and I told him, like, I was a little bit worried there that these are some, Bloodborne. It's like something that people really want to see. You sort of wasted that on a trailer in the beginning. And he was like, yeah, well, we wanted to focus on the stuff we didn't have at E3. Yeah. Which makes a lot of sense, and which perhaps Microsoft didn't do as well. They had some stuff that was new, of course, but not as much new stuff as Sony did. Brought out a lot of stuff, and something for everyone. I think that's, they really showcase how wide the spectrum is of PlayStation games, and some they also had some great stuff to brag about, like the 10 million units. It's we didn't hear any unit count at the Microsoft press conference, so A lot of those kind of things were also in play there. Of course, the downside of that is that this press conference really sort of reaffirmed that PlayStation Vita is no longer a focus, and in the sense of developing and bringing out new, big scale games, which
like you talked about earlier, Michael Denny kind of confirmed.
Yeah, and it's not really a secret now, and it's not really like saying, well, wait for this and that.
Wow.
I actually think in the interview I didn't correct him, but he actually said like, oh, there's still great stuff coming, like Borderlands 2, which is already out there, by the way.
Yeah.
I didn't want to spot him on that, because there are other great games coming, like Murasaki Baby is coming out in a bit. That's like an exclusive and things, but certainly you can see the wind down is beginning now. And wouldn't it be ironic if it caught on again? Like PlayStation TV got really big, and a lot of people started buying Vita games for that, and all of a sudden there's a big
gap,
big economy for it.
Yeah.
It would be fun. Of course, there's a lot of games coming still. Like we were at Devolver, basically every game there was coming to PS Vita as well, and PS4 and PS Vita, and you got a game like Volume that's coming out on Vita. So there's certainly games
Speaking
coming.
of Devolver, one of my most anticipated upcoming games, Broforce, like you said, coming to PS4 and PS
Really
Vita.
love the interview that's coming there on Broforce.
And he mentioned some things that I've been concerned about the game that they're working on now. So now I'm even more hyped for it, because when you play it, it kind of feels like, well, okay, you get new worlds, you get new enemies, but there's no real story. You're just shooting and running, but they're gonna
work a cliche story in there, so you get the payoff of
exactly. You will be the one bro standing.
Yeah.
But time's up.
Time's up.
We should wrap this up.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
I think I've not eaten since I had an apple, or I had a peach and a banana today.
Yeah.
So I think it's high time to hit some sort of meat station, some sort of currywurst station, and get some grub in us. Maybe some vegetables as well. Want to keep it fresh. We still got a couple of days to go here. I hope that my voice holds up. It's improving, so that's a good sign. I've been drinking some tea today whenever I could.
Every single stop.
Tea.
Got in tea with the pinky. But yeah, join us again same time tomorrow, 6 to 7.
And see if we remembered any of your questions on the games we mentioned.
Yeah.
That's going to be our challenge.
Yeah.
Our challenge for tomorrow is going to be remember those questions. Hopefully we'll do. But yeah, we'll bring out more stuff, more interviews, and content on GRTV as we go. We got the station set up here, and hopefully, as much as possible, can go up in the next couple of days, and then we'll bring out the rest whenever there's, as soon as possible.
Exactly. See you on the flip side.